Hi, I'm Jörg Müller. I'm the founder and CEO of Aesthetic Press. Today I would like to talk to you about press to metal. Press to metal is a technique I have been using in my own dental lab since the early 2000s. Implementing this technique has been a real game changer for my production. Not only have I experienced a more efficient production, which means faster turnaround, but also a more consistent level of quality, much higher than previously with the layering technique. So let me show you a case that I have done a 12-unit bridge pressed onto metal. So let's look into the case now, press to metal. We've done this for more than 20 years now at Aesthetic Press, and so let's jump right into the case. So we have a CAD/CAM design here, a split file, and as another thing is the world is changing now more to CAD/CAM, milling, printing. The press over technique is absolutely ideal to solve these cases for porcelain onto metal or porcelain onto zirconia, and with the right planning we can get the perfect porcelain support. We can also get a really ideal color support. Now all these things were not really that available or possible when we did the hand stacking, because a framework was in terms of the cast tip support or porcelain support not always ideal, and I guess we can all agree to that. So here we have the laser sintered frame. I have to say that I did this case with the company Bigo in Germany, so thank you very much for your support on that case. It is a 12-unit bridge, and if you work with a laser sintered or any type of non-precious alloy frame, you want to use a bonder. The bonder definitely helps with the shade. It makes the color a little bit more warm, so it gives a warmer tone to the porcelain. It takes out the gray. And also it is helping with coefficiency ratio. So it will lessen the chance or the problems with late cracking, that's for sure. So one coat of bonder, the AP bonder here, is indicated. After the bonder, we apply 2 coats of an opaque, and I have here the AP opaque. We can have this in all the 16 shades, bleach shade, as well as the light and the dark. So 2 coats are probably fine to cover all the areas, so you don't want to have any gray area showing. So once that's done, because of the CAD/CAM file, now it's time to mill. And now we can mill the overstructure of the 12 units with the AP Vanilla or the Vanilla Speed Blank, depending on your settings on your milling machine. This is a wonderful solution. The advantage of the Vanilla Blank is it is a little flexible, and it even goes into undercuts, and so therefore it's a really nice and ideal material. And as you can see here, a beautiful morphology. And now comes the even better advantage of this material. You can use your carving instrument and you can still carve out a couple of details if you like. You can add onto it with our carving wax so that you can have a wonderful balanced occlusion. So for people who work with gnathology, and for them the occlusal surface with the contact points is very important, this is the ideal way to go about it. I prefer these wax crowns much more than printed resin patterns for that matter, because you can play around, you can move the contact points, you can adjust the size of the contact points. That is something probably which is a little bit more difficult with resin. Now, one point that I get a lot of questions about is how to sprue a bridge like that up. Especially here on our 400 gram ring. You see the 400 gram ring has 3 pistons. all the 3 pistons are connected with each other so that we have kind of an overflow of material. That is important. The material can flow from one chamber into the other one in case one chamber is done pressing. So the anteriors are being supplied with 1 sprue straight on the incisal edge, and the posteriors are you see 2 sprues, 1 on the buccal and 1 on the lingual, just to be sure that everything flows out and we don't have a short press, which we obviously want to avoid. When we invest the 400 gram ring, we have this plunger maker. On the right side, you see the tear-free silicone material. And whenever you invest something, you always have investment material left into the bowl. And that is something you can now fill this mold up with. And you let it set for 1 hour, 60 minutes, and you either scrape it off or you trim the excess off, release the plunger out of the mold, and then you will put this plunger with the investment ring into the furnace at the same time. Burnout time is approximately 90 minutes for the 400 gram ring, and then you can go to press these units. Now, in general, we have 2 different kinds of ingots. We have the 2 gram ingots and we have the 3 gram ingots, 12 millimeter and 16 millimeter. The 3 gram ingots are being used for the 300 gram ring as much as for the 400 gram ring. The furnace of my choice, my personal preference, is the Dikema President. And I love this furnace because, or prefer this furnace because not only is the heating chamber extremely precise and very well made, for me as a technician it is very important how can I navigate a furnace? How quickly can I change a program? And how easy is it to maneuver on the touch display? And in that case, it's absolutely my favorite. It's the easiest furnace to program. And also, you can have multiple levels that you can actually program. So you're totally free in whatever you need to program, you can do it with this furnace, and it's ideal. On the website, you see on the right the firing instructions, all the data needed to use this furnace, and as well the porcelain. Now, once everything has been pressed, we all hope, obviously, that everything worked out fine. And when you devest the units, this is what you want to see. Nicely pressed bridge with a little bit of surplus on the ingots. And you see now how everything is sprued up on the buckle. You see the spots where the sprues have been attached to. Not necessarily only on the cusp tip. Make sure it's a little bit towards the center of the crown so that it doesn't have to travel, the porcelain doesn't have to travel that much to go to the margin. So that's another very important point. Here you see the whole thing from the inside, and especially kind of a mind-boggling thing is the porcelain margins. That is something you would be impossible to achieve with a hand layering technique to fit all these porcelain margins all at once. Now, when you press a porcelain margin, and after you have divested and you want to fit the dies or you put it on the model, you want to make sure that you relieve a little bit the transition between the alloy and the porcelain margin, because sometimes there is a little overhang, and that is what you want to take off before you put a die into the crown. Also, you want to check it with a microscope, because there might be a little positive bubble that you need to take away. And then most often the porcelain margin just fits just very, very nice. Okay, so let's take a look at the anatomy and the contacts again. Something that is remarkable, I just mentioned that. And this is what you get. A 1-to-1 transfer from wax into porcelain. That is something that is absolutely ideal. And for everybody who is doing hand layering, we all know how difficult it is to create an occlusion, and then especially a balanced occlusion with a nice controlled way of contact points. that is very difficult, and this is the ultimate plus for me why I choose to press onto a frame. Yeah, so there's nothing that beats that. Before we go to stain and glaze, as you can see, I do rubber wheel the surface and I polish it with the Oscar Diamond polishing paste. I want to make sure that we don't have any porosities as well as any burr marks from grinding. So making sure that the surface of the porcelain is absolutely homogeneous and nice. So if you have a surface like that, then staining is going to be super easy because you can already see the color, you see the translucency, and now when you add the paste stain onto the porcelain, it just moves perfectly well, and you can see the results right away, and this is what you're going to get. So then I guess that's up to every technician how you want to characterize an occlusion. You know your dentist best. Some people do not like occlusal stains, some do, so that's up to you, whatever you prefer, what your preferences are. Nevertheless, but again, one thing that I want to mention is I do not use glaze paste. I use a natural glaze. The surface of the porcelain is a lot more homogeneous, no porosities, and has less or very little affinity to plaque. So anyway, so that's my way how to press onto large bridges. So a press over technology still to this day is absolutely viable solution. As I can see, also my clients are still using it up to this day. And so if you have any questions, feel always free to contact me at info@apdental.net, and you find more information on our website at www.apdental.net. Thank you very much for watching.